On today's episode of SHRM24 Conversations, a conversation with the Chief People Officer at Workleap, an employee engagement tool. And shout out to JobCase for our RegTech Media Travel sponsorship. Here comes the audio.
Welcome to RegTech, the podcast where recruiting and technology intersect. Each month, you'll hear from vendors shaping the recruiting world, along with recruiters who'll tell you how they use technology to hire talent. Now, here's your host, the mad scientist of online recruiting, Chris Russell.
Podcasting live from the GP booth at SHRM24 Chicago. Next up is the Chief People Officer at Workleap, and I'm here with Kahina Ouerdane. Kahina, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
She's from Montreal, first time in Chicago. So what do you think of the city so far?
I'm loving it, the architecture, the vibe. I'm having a blast.
Tell us what Workleap is. I think it's an employee experience tool, but it's all I know about it.
Yes, so Workleap is, it's a company, but it's also a platform. We really focus on making work simpler and making work basically, right? So we believe that humans are really at the center of making companies being successful and performing. And so we've built a series of tools that are part of a platform where we really want to improve the journey of an employee from the very first moment that you onboard, right? So we have an onboarding tool and then an engagement tool where we do custom pulse surveys where we take the pulse of employees on an ongoing basis week after week with engagement metrics that we can monitor with a lot of quantitative data that we can look at. And even at the exec committee, we can look at these things and see the trends and the variations and look into the questions, and that really allows for like greater visibility on what's really happening within the organization with its people. We have an LMS. That's also part of that. We have a skills inventory tool. So basically that's for now the platform. We also have a tool that is more focusing on IT managers, ShareGate, that helps for migration, for SharePoint migration. So it's a bit aside from it, but it's also part of the whole idea, because if I can just add one thing on this, I really believe that in this day and age, like IT is really the backbone of employee experience. So more and more, and we're a remote first company now, we see it. If IT is not solid, nothing's going to be happening on the employee experience side, whether it's having your laptop being delivered on time, or if you're acquiring a company and you want to merge the other company to your own, and then you have to migrate one of their systems, and we've lived that ourselves. So IT for me is very much part of it, but let's say that we were to focus maybe on the other part of it for our conversation. Yeah.
How do you define employee experience? Can you talk about that?
For me, employee experience is a mix of the actual journey that an employee will go through. So like the emotions, the experiences, the interactions, the alignment between an employee and the mission of the business, the values and the vision. All of that at the same time as being part of a high-performing team that can really achieve ambitious goals. So that's why my team really sees its role as a mix of both. How do we make sure that people are as engaged and motivated as possible, while also building a whole bigger than the sum of its parts, and having really, people achieve ambitious goals together. Because for me, humanity and performance walk hand in hand. So that's my vision of employee experience.
So what are the touch points with your software and an employee? Give me some examples of that.
The touch points of like, when is an employee in contact? Yeah. So, well, first thing, when they start with us, the first thing that they get is a contact with Workleap onboarding. So they're going to get a platform interaction with videos from the exec committee members are going to be welcoming them. So there's videos from the exec members, from their direct managers, from their teammates. That's might sound like something very small, but it does have a big impact on people, because we're remote now. So the one contact that you have with something that's a bit more emotional and cultural is actually interaction. So having, let's say, executives in our company, that's what we do. We call people by their names. We'll welcome them individually. And so for them, they feel like they belong. So it starts there. And we also help structure all the documentation that they should be going through for the first weeks or months of their journey with us. So we help the manager organize the onboarding through that platform, right? So what are the documentations, the intranet, touch points that you should be having with these people, reminders to the colleagues or the stakeholders that they should be meeting with this person. So it kind of like eases the employee's way into the business, and feels, currently we've had a lot of good feedback on this, internally, because we obviously use our tools, having people telling us, I felt like I was being welcomed, like I was part of something right from the start, because in our day and age, people are working from their office at the same house with the same computer sometimes for a different company. So how do you build that rapport? So that's one aspect. And then just to maybe complement on the office vibe front, which is another one of our products, On a weekly basis, all employees get poked, and then you have a 5 question survey.
They get poked.
Yeah, poked.
It's like the old Facebook.
Yeah, I say poked, but you get a little nudge. We have a lot of integrations. Let's say we use Slack, so on Slack, employees get about, oh, it's time for your weekly survey. It's 5 questions. It's not long, but it gives to managers and leaders like a view of what's going on in the team. So there's like 10 sub-metrics and engagements that we look at, from ambassadorship to wellness to alignment to relationship with managers, relationship with peers, and then there's 120 questions that get asked over a 3-month period, and we're able that way to have a view of what's going up, what's going down. So for an employee, they get to answer questions. There's always like a section at the end that says what else is on your mind, which is also an opportunity for employees to really talk about anything really that they want to share. And well, of course, a feature of that is that it can be anonymous or non-anonymous. And anonymous feedback allows for sometimes more transparency, even though I love to try to build the muscles of courage and bravery and being able to tell it like it is, which is also one of our values. But it's also difficult at times, and we'd rather know than not know, right? So for employees, it's also another opportunity for them to express themselves.
Cool. How do you explain the ROI of a tool like this to a potential customer? How do you walk me through that?
Yeah. I mean, any business problem is a people problem to begin with. So for me, it's like kind of obvious that if you don't have people that are engaged. And again, for me, engagement and the performance walk hand in hand. So I'm not talking about just having people happy about the perks and the delivering at the end of the day, right? Within Office Vibe, we also have a section that's about performance management, actually. So now we've just launched internally what we see as continuous performance management. So it's quarterly conversations between the manager and its direct reports with feedback, feed forward, and then that way. So that for me is also like a clear ROI in the sense that we're having more and more performance conversations, but it's mixing both together. So from an employee standpoint, it's actually the business cares enough that I'm being asked questions about what's on your mind and what do you think about this and that, and at the same time it's fair because I'm being provided feedback, I'm being provided clear expectations, and I have to deliver against that, which I think also contributes from an employee standpoint to a sense of fulfillment. That's on one side. Now, if an employee has a sense of fulfillment, the chances of them being more committed and giving more to the business are much higher, as like all the research shows. So from the other angle, and I'm also an executive, and I'm also sitting on the exec committee talking about these things on an ongoing basis, if you do have a high level of commitment in your business, it is going to show in results, and it also always does. I mean, I think that one of the most costly things for businesses right now is having people who are kind of like just surfing without being particularly committed, but the silence quieting that we've been talking about, neither necessarily quitting. That's very, very costly for business.
What's the most impactful feedback you've gotten from a client around the product itself?
That's a really good question, and I would have to ask my team that's working with them, because I don't talk to client directly as much because I'm not part of the product team.
Okay. So how big's your team, by the way?
It's big. 24 people on my team. We're a business of 450 employees. So
okay, it's that big. Okay,
so
wow.
It's big, but I mean, I have talent acquisition, internal comms, external comms, PR, content marketing on my team even now. I have talent management, learning development, HRBPs, total rewards. So it's wide. But yeah.
What's a typical day like for you?
Typical day for me? A lot of Slack messages, a lot of meetings, a lot of alignment. Basically, I would say my role is really like I feel like I have 2 teams. I have my team, which is the exec committee, so I'm part of like the overall success of the business. So that's very much on my mind at all times. Like I'm part of that team that sees how do we meet the objectives that we've set up for ourselves as a business. How do we make that happen? And at the same time, how do I bring forces next to me to be enablers of that success? So it goes from, I mean, again, a lot of meetings, but with the execs, with my peers, with my teams, alignment, a lot of things around alignment, how to translate what's happening at the business level, at the people level, working a lot with leaders and managers in the business to develop their skills and to make them also strong, because if you don't have a strong leadership layer, how are you going to survive this, And just by the way, we've grown a lot in the past years. That's an ongoing work and challenge.
And you're all remote, right?
We're now remote first. We weren't before. That was a big shift with the pandemic. We had just renovated our offices. We had won international architectural prizes. Like, our offices are absolutely magnificent. Most of the time empty, although I'm very much at the office myself because I live it and I'm close to it. But no need for people to go at all, aside from twice a year where we all gather. All of the employees are gathered together for like a 2 to 3 day retreat. on site. It's not off site anymore. It's on site. Yeah,
on-site is the new off-site.
exactly.
When did you join the company?
It was October 2016, so it's almost 8 years.
Years, okay. I think it's called Gsoft, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Rebranded it.
Yeah, we did because we wanted the name to be more telling of what we do. When the guys, I mean, the two partners, the three founders, who are still my colleagues, started the company 18 years ago, they were like starting college, listening to rap music. Like Gsoft came out of like G Unit, like it had nothing to do with nothing. And at some point along the way, they kind of
Gsoft does not say HR employees.
not at all. Whereas that's really the focus, and it's always been the focus of the business. So they said let's rename it so that it becomes clear, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I've seen the company triple ever since I've joined. We were like around 150 when I joined, and now we're 450. So, and we've acquired 2 companies. We now have employees in the States, which is also a new reality for us because employment law is complex.
Yep. And are you hiring now?
We're constantly hiring.
What kinds of roles?
Oh God, everything from VP design to VP marketing to product management directors to a lot of individual contributors. There's a lot of roles, like 45 roles open.
Okay, very cool. I want to ask you more of a leadership question, Kahina. So we're surrounded by all this HR technology. How does the average HR person get buy-in for a tool like Workleap or something else? Just as a general rule of thumb, what advice do you give them?
How to navigate through like all the technology.
How do you get buy-in, like from leadership, to get
to
the
buy.
software? Yes,
Oh.
the software, right?
Well, I
Because it's
mean-
always a hard thing for HR people. They don't have a lot of budget. They're always constrained by budget. What's your advice to them in terms of getting budget?
Efficiency. It's efficiency, it's productivity, because you save up a lot of time by having things that are a bit automated, that are streamlining your processes, your flow of work, that are embedded in the flow of work. That just gives you more time to do other things. So if you can manage to have that implemented, it eases things and it brings more efficiency and ultimately more performance. So for me, it's the number one thing that comes to mind. Yeah.
What's Workleap's biggest challenge right now?
What keeps me up at night is the cultural onboarding of leaders in a remote context. I have not completely tackled that one yet. I find that it's difficult. I always feel that it's as if I'm going to talk to you about Italy and I'm going to show you how good the pasta is and how beautiful the beaches are, but you're not in Italy with me. Like, how do you make the person live in all the little nuances, especially when you're a leader? It's all in the nuances. How fast should you act on performance? How casual should you be with people around you? Like those kinds of things that you pick up on when you're at the office that we no longer have. I mean, we do have those gatherings, but again, it's a little bit like meeting the family at Christmas and Easter. Like it's not the same as like getting back from work at 4 p.m. on a Thursday and unwinding. So how do we make that? Is still something in my mind. One of my and also another thing, the constant development of leadership skills, because the company is constantly growing. So to remain good at your job, you must constantly be upskilling in a business that's growing. So, and that really applies a lot to leadership as well. So having constantly keeping that critical mass of like mature leaders where expectations are constantly rising is also something.
Interesting. What's your HR tech stack like beyond Workleap? What's your ATS? Give me some other software you guys use.
Well, we're shopping for an HRIS at the moment.
There you go, vendor.
So I'm looking for this here. We have some competitors that also have HRISs, so it's a bit tricky on our side.
Who are your competitors?
I don't know if I'm going to talk about my competitors.
Okay, all right. Well.
I'll leave it at that. But ATS is Greenhouse. Actually, we were in Greenhouse. We left it and then
Came back to Greenhouse.
Yeah, because they have improved quite a bit in the last year, so that's good. And again, we're trying to change our HRIS just because of size. We're getting to 500 employees, and that has limitations with certain tools. So we're looking for something bigger, but not enterprise either. So shopping. I'm shopping here this week.
Where do most of your hires come from? Do you have what's your number one source?
It's very. Oh, you mean like?
Internal hires.
Are they coming? Are you talking geographically, or
how are you getting it?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, we used to have like a third of our hires that were referrals. It's gone down a bit. We work a lot with agencies right now, so there's a lot of that coming through that more than ever. And also people applying. The market's changing, eh? So we've gotten more applicants than we used to in the past years. So we're not struggling.
what's the best reason to join Workleap?
The best reason? I mean, for me, the mission is so compelling. You want to help people work better together by building software that helps people work better, which I think for me is like the starting point of so many things in society. If you can work better, and better in the large sense of better, right? Not only in terms of like productivity per se, but also in terms of like alignment with values and, you know, being considered as a human being while providing performance. So for me, the mission is so compelling. And of course, we always push ourselves to, as I always say, drink our own champagne or like eat our own dog food. So we're very demanding towards ourselves with our own employee experience that we're providing to employees, because we're building software for employee experience. So how about, you know, we believe in that. So we better be good at it. So I mean, I don't want to brag, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about the employee experience that we provide, because it's in the DNA of our business, right? So the product is pushing us at times. My team is pushing products a lot. Product is pushing us as well. So it's, you know what I mean? I feel like we're constantly leveling each other up to be able to provide. And again, we're not perfect. I'm not going to say we're perfect. The company has evolved. Pace has changed. You know, the outlook on things have changed. Some people, you know, stay a few years and then it's like not for them anymore. But for people who have like the grit and the ambition and, you know, are hungry, please join us. I used to be a lawyer and hating it. I've been here. I feel like in 8 years I've never had one dull day. I'm just so energized by my job and by the alignment between what my team does and what the company does in its core mission. So there's a lot of adrenaline and excitement and passion in the business. So for people who love that, join us.
There you go. It's workleap.com, I assume?
Yes, exactly. Career page, you'll see.
Thanks, Kahina.
Thank you so much.
Looking for your next HR technology role? Go to your browser, type in hrtechjob.com, and browse hundreds of jobs with the best HR technology vendors. HR tech professionals finally have a dedicated job marketplace to find work or be found. Sign up for job alerts or post a resume. Discover jobs with companies like Workday, Phenom, HiBob, Deal, and more. You'll even find HR tech roles with employers in case you want to work with managing HCM or HRIS platforms. HR Tech Job, the only job market for HR technology careers. Join us at hrtechjob.com.
Another episode of RecTech is in the books. Follow Chris on Twitter at Chris Russell or visit rectechmedia.com, where you can find the audio and links for this show on our blog. RecTech Media helps keep employers and recruiters up to date through our podcasts, webinars, and articles. So be sure to check out our other sites, Recruiting Headlines and HR Podcasters, to stay on top of recruiting industry trends. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon on the next episode of RecTech, the Recruiting Technology Podcast.